Hey, hope you're having a fantastic day. Now let's talk June wrap up. I read 12 books this June. I feel like I could have read more. I did DNF 2 books, I believe. I've got lots of fantasy. I read a sci-fi. I've got one romance on here that was really, really good that I really enjoyed. But yeah, let's get into it. I think I had a pretty good reading month, even with the DNFs. Like, I still feel like it was a pretty good reading month. So let's just get right into it. The first book, let's talk about it. Half City. Now, this one has kind of been on my radar for a little while, but like I was a little unsure how I felt about it. Like, not a lot of people were talking about it, but one of my other favorite book content creators was just like, this is going to be the new thing. Like, you need to read this. And like, she keeps talking about it. So I was like, all right, I'll get into it. Let's see if I like it. And I'm glad I did because I really, really enjoyed this book. I would give it 4.5 stars. I will say the writing is a little rough around the edges, like just a little bit. Like, it's not like terrible. It's not like you can't enjoy it, but it's a little rough around the edges, right? But it's really fun, right? Like, especially if you're a Zodiac Academy girly like I am, this gives almost similar vibes. Like, not quite Zodiac Academy because Zodiac Academy is God tier, right? This is almost there. I see where it's going. It has so much promise, but let me tell you what it's about. So it follows our main character, Viv, who is a deviant hunter. So deviants are kind of like demons, right? And so her father died when she was like, I think 10 or something like that. So she is the only one in the family who has the gene. So she has been pretty much fighting all these deviants on her own. She's a very specific type of deviant hunter, and she is a Aeon. I feel like I'm always going to say that wrong, but she's very specific. She has very like harsh tendencies and like mood swings and like always needs to kill, right? Well, she's out one night hunting around, just trying to live her life because nobody in her life knows like about these deviants because humans can't see them. And so she ends up finding a deviant, but he's a reformed deviant and is like, hey, you need to come to Harker Academy, and that's where we train you, right, to become these also magical deviant hunters. And so she's like, yeah, but I've been on my own for like a long time, but like nobody's supposed to know she's an Aeon because they're like, it's a super big secret. They don't want her in her community, right? And so she's like, I don't know. So she kind of goes into the school thinking, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know what's going on. And she ends up obviously enjoying it, the Harker University. It's teaching her all about the things that she didn't know. And what I really like about this story too is because obviously her dad died when she was still so young. She still had so many questions, and it's getting answered for her as we're going on the story. But the thing is, it's not just like, here's the world, figure it out. It's like, we're finding out about her world with her. It's not like just you're watching the story happen, you're in the story right next to her. And I really, really like that. Like, the way that's done is really, really cool. And it's just enjoyable, right? Like, you're right there with the character. You're not just watching it happen to the character, which I think is really, really fun and interesting. But we're kind of just following her along. One of her classmates goes missing, and she kind of takes it upon herself because she is from like the main city of like where the deviants live, right? Like, so there's lots of things happening in this book. There's like a little bit of a romance going on. It's not super spicy at all. There's like maybe 1 or 2 scenes, but like the way the slow burn is happening, like you just want to, like, so good. Don't mind Leo. He's here to supervise as always. Can you put your tail down? Thank you. But yeah, I am really, really enjoying this. I believe it's set to be a trilogy, but obviously the first book is out. The second book comes out here later this year, so I'm really excited for that. But I really enjoyed this. I would highly suggest picking it up, especially if you're like a Zodiac Academy lover, maybe some Akatar. I think you're going to like this. This is also going to be a really good fall pick because like it just gives fall vibes. It's the only way to, like, it just gives like almost dark academia vibes, and I really, really enjoyed that. The Dragon Wakes with Fire. Now, this is the second and end of the duology, with the first book being The Night Ends with Fire. It's kind of like a Mulan retelling, and it was my first DNF of the month. And let's just get it out of the way now. I did not really enjoy The Night Ends with Fire, but it was intriguing enough that I still wanted to go and find out what happened to some of the characters into the second book. Like, I really didn't know if I hated this book or if I liked this book, right? It's really hard to explain. I didn't really like the writing style. I didn't like our main character. But going into the second book, I'm like, let me give it a chance because the metric system was super interesting, and I couldn't do it. I did after like 26%, and I'd like gone in, I'm like, I can't keep on. I can't hold on to the story. And then so I had waited like a week or two trying to get back into it, and I couldn't do it. It's just like, do I need to read the story before I go to my grave? And the answer was no. And I have a really hard time DNFing books, so I just went ahead and did it. I just went ahead and did it, and I'm glad I did because I think it just made me a little bit more frustrated than I would have liked. But kind of the premise of the story, it's a Mulan retelling, but our main character, Mei Lin, she is like from a noble family, but her dad is super addicted to opium and he like gambles a lot, so they have like no wealth, no money, and like very, very poor status. And she's getting ready to be like sold off for marriage to this like super old crusty dude, and he is like super abusive to all of his servants, and like he's gone through like 4 wives already. So she takes it upon herself, like, if I'm going to have my own life, my own hands, I'm going to die anyway because there's war coming in to, like, the country and things like that, civil war or something like that. So she's like, I know my dad's not going to go because obviously he's, like, super addicted to opium and he just gives no shit about becoming a soldier, right? And so she's like, I'm going to take my life into my own hands, ends up disguising herself as a boy, goes to the war, things happen in the first book, and it's discovered, obviously, that she is a woman, and, like, the magic system is interesting because they have these jade pendants, or I think they call them stamps in the book, but I see them more as pendants. There's like a water dragon, and then of course there's a phoenix involvement, and like the way the spirits, it's kind of like Avatar: Last Airbender with the spirit world. There's that sort of thing kind of going on in this book, and we're just kind of following Mei Lin around, going through this war, things happening. She wins lots of battles. Obviously, it's revealed she's a woman. And again, I didn't hate it, I didn't love it. I don't like how selfish our main character, Mei Lin, is. Just the way it's done. Like, I'm all about a selfish girl, but to be so narcissistic, to, like, hurt other people in the making just to get to power, I'm not about. And just, again, just the way it's done in the writing. And then so you go into the second book, right? Lots of questions about what happened, where it goes from here. And I just couldn't get in it. Like, I simply couldn't get into it. The writing did not get any better. The only way to describe it, it was so janky that I couldn't hold on to it. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to be, I couldn't do it. I know that's a terrible explanation, but I just couldn't do it. It just wasn't for me. I didn't like the writing style. I don't like the characters. I was more interested in the side characters, but even that, I just couldn't compete with like how bad the writing was for me, and I needed it to be over. So that was my first DNF. There we go. That's it. That's all I gotta say about that one. The next is A Natural History of Dragons, a memoir by Lady Trent. Now this one I really enjoyed. I will fully say, I'm not going to say I was disappointed with it, but I was expecting this to be more of like a 5-star, but I give this maybe like a 3.5 star. But it was still a really, really good book. Like, I'm interested to continue on with the series. Now, this is about our main character, Lady Trent. And Lady Trent is, like, in her older age. I'd say, like, oh, I don't know how old, like, exactly. She's been, say, like, 80s or something, right? And so she has been asked for years to, like, write her memoirs and, like, tell all the people of like how like she got to be in her position, how she became a natural historian for dragons, right? Like the people are wanting her story and things like that. And so she takes it upon herself, and so she's writing this as obviously when she was in her 80s, but like looking back on her life and like where it came to be. And so in the beginning, we're just kind of following along her as a young girl, how she even gets interested in dragons and things like that. And this is set in like the Victorian age. Of course, women are not allowed pretty much anything. They get married off young. They can read and stuff, but like they're like not supposed to learn anything. You're not supposed to have any real interest. Like, oh, you're so prim and proper, don't faint, right? Like that kind of stuff. And so we're kind of following her along, her journey, how she gets into dragons, and then it follows her along of her getting married. I love how she picks out her husband. She has like a short list of like men who like have really big libraries and like might allow her to use it, and like that's how she gets. It's really sweet. I like the love story in this. There's not like really any spice in it. There's like a couple mentions of it, but like nothing like super spicy. I don't think there's anything even on page. But of course, it's the Victorian era. Like that's always behind closed doors, right? But anyway, I really enjoyed this. It was really sweet. And then we just kind of followed her along on her journey to discover these dragons. Because they know virtually nothing about dragons in this world. Like, they know they're around, but they have no idea about their anatomy, their physiology, their biology, why their wings are a certain way, why they eat, their mating rituals, like, things like that. And so that's what they kind of take it upon themselves to do and, like, find out in this book. And it's fun. It's interesting. I like the, like, anatomy, physiology is my jam. And so I'm all about that. And it was fun. It was interesting. I do feel like the last part, I think it's part 4 in this, it derails a little bit for me, because in this, like, the dragons are attacking people out of nowhere and they don't know why. And so while they're on this trip, they're like, well, let's kind of figure it out since we're in the area. And things kind of delve from there, because of course it's human intervention as it at its finest in every other world. And you know what I mean? Like, as humans are being humans, right? And so it takes a little bit of a curve, like, not that it was bad, it's just I was wanting a little bit more dragons toward the end, not so much of like that, you know what I mean? I feel like it derailed a little bit, like not terribly, it was still a really good story, I still enjoyed it, but just kind of went, meh, alright, okay. And there was a little bit of a sad part to it. I'm not getting into it because I don't want to spoil anything. I knew to kind of expect it though, just from knowing like a few other people who I know have read the rest of the book series. So there's a little bit of a sad part, but it's not like so devastating sad, like I'm not gonna like be able to get over myself, right? But it was fun, it was enjoyable, solid 3.5 stars. I'll definitely be continuing on continuing on in the series. There we go. And I enjoyed it. It was a fun, quick, easy read. I liked the banter. I like our main character, Lady Trent. She's funny, and like her directness is super interesting, especially in like the Victorian era. I always think of, because like I'm from the north, but I live down in the south now, and so it's really funny how like the Southern belles conduct themselves as if they're like Victorian kind of ladies, like, oh, well, bless your heart. It's the way she kind of has to navigate that, even though trying to get what she wants, is so interesting. So it's just very similar. I enjoyed that, and yeah, I would definitely suggest to add this to your TBR if you're into dragons, for sure. Okay, are you ready? Let's get this out of the way. Metal Slinger. Now, I heard lots of good things about it. It was super popular. I knew the second and the ending of the duology, Light Wielder, was going to be coming out soon. I have not read Metal Slinger yet, but I was like, you know what? It kind of seems up my alley. I might as well try it out, see if I enjoy it. That way, with the second book coming out, I can just read the second book and like it be completed, right? I won't have to end in a cliffhanger. Now, I loved Metal Slinger. I absolutely loved it. Like, I would give it like a solid 4.5 stars. I love the build up, like the twist to the end, which I heard from others, like the twist to the end is like what gets you, right? And I loved it. So our main character, she was kind of like taken away and stolen as a child, and she has been banished to live on the water. And a lot of these people on the water are like, you cannot access your gifts in magical gifts unless you are on land, and so they're not allowed to go to land, right? And so she doesn't really know about who she is, what's kind of going on, and once a year these people of the water, whatever, they are allowed to go to like the land, the docks in a certain country, and they're allowed to do their trade goods and stuff there, but they're not allowed to step foot on land. They're like stuck on the docks and things like that. But it's usually a big celebration. It's a big thing. She's starting to become a part of the guard with these people, right? Well, she gets there and kind of all hell breaks loose because of a few misunderstandings and other things that kind of happen to go on, because there's a bit of a rebellion going on, right? Like the main continents of the countries, nobody likes the people of the water because they have been banished. They're supposed to have done like super bad things, but of course the people on the water are like, no, we want to come back to land, we want to access our power, yada yada yada, right? And so things kind of break up from there, and it's kind of a story of her finding herself. It's a bit of like a pirate-esque vibes going on. I really enjoy all of the different powers, like the metal slinging. Like it's a really interesting world, but then like you're kind of following her story because she's just trying to like get home as she's finding out who she is and like things being revealed, but like the way it's done is so well, and the twist at the end like broke my heart. Absolutely like you will be shocked. Like I was like gasping for air about this book, right? Like I couldn't believe it. I wanted to go straight into the second book, but it was already like 2:00 in the morning at that point. I'm like, no, I need to go to bed. But it was phenomenal. Okay, like absolutely phenomenal. The writing was pretty good, right? Like it was not bad at all going into it, right? Well, after this big twist, okay, we then get into the second book, Light Wielder, and I was so underwhelmed with this book. Like it was a highly anticipated sequel, right? Like and especially like I can't imagine people reading this like when Metal Slinger came out, getting to Light Wielder. I ended up DNFing Light Wielder at about 80-ish%. The only way to describe it is I was so underwhelmed. So there's a 4-year time jump from what happened in Metal Slinger to Light Wielder, okay? I was super interested in that because I'm just like, after that betrayal, how in the hell are they going to navigate that, okay? Because, like, I don't even know. It was a big explosion. Mind, body, everything. Like, the betrayals, the twists and turns, not something I would have expected out of this book. Like, the way it was, like, done, fantastic, right? But getting into this book, it's now 4 years later, and it's just... The first 2 chapters are good, right? Because you're kind of chronicling what happens to both of our female main character and then a main male character. And then it kind of gets to the point where, like, of course, the war is now raging because it's not only the water people trying to come back to land, it's now all of the land people trying to, like, wars, and they've been at constant battles and, like, trying to gain land, and, of course, war, right? War. But we're just kind of chronicling that. Like, the first few chapters are interesting, but then you're getting into our main part, and it's just, like, the thing was, it's just, like, nothing was really happening, and I think that's what made me the most, it was, like, they're, like, nothing's happening, nothing's going on, and, like, the thing I think I didn't like the most is just, like, you know our 2 main characters are supposed to be together, like, you just know it, but, like, the way they keep, like, screwing around with each other, I don't like, because it was trying to be like a dark romance vibe, like, ooh, will you hurt me, but like, I'm gonna hurt you back, but like, do I love you, do I not love you? And like, the way it was done, it just really annoyed me. Like, it was just dumb. Like, either they're together or they're not together. Like, just, it's one thing if it's like back and forth. Like, the way it was done, I didn't enjoy that. But then, with everything going on, because like, it's focusing so much on them, you're not really getting anything else in the storyline, right? But you know things are happening in the outside world. You know the war is going on, right? But then you're at this point, like 80% of the way in, and you're just like, literally nothing's happened. You're just watching them kind of mess with each other for no point and no reason. And then you know stuff is happening, but nobody's telling you what's going on. And I don't like that. Like, it's one thing, like, if there's stuff going on in the background that you're not supposed to know, and then all of a sudden it's a surprise, right? But that's not what it is. Like, it's hinting towards other things happening in the background, but you're given no information, and that really upset me. Because it's just like, what's the point? What is the point of this book then? Because what am I reading? I'm just reading garbage. Like, it wasn't that it was written poorly. It was just boring. I'm like, can we get to the point? What's happening? What's going on? And I think that's what pissed me off the most, because Meadowslinger were so good. Like, I was like amped the entire time reading this. Light Wielder, I was like, meh. Can we like finish up the story? Like, that's why I was so like fine with like giving up. Like, I only had an hour left, I think, in the book. I said on Libby, or on Libby, on Kindle. And I was just like, I could care less to read this. Like, I could genuinely care less. I even gave it a few days. I'm like, I'd rather just read a different book. Like, I don't understand. I don't know what happened. I don't know why. Like, did you just use up all your creative juices in book 1? Like, you couldn't figure out something in book 2? Maybe I didn't read far enough along, but I'm 80% of the way into it. Like, I should have been enthralled by 80% of the way into it, right? Like, I don't know. I'm disappointed. I'm upset. I would still potentially recommend this to people, but I really enjoyed Middlesinger, but I don't know why with Light Wielder, but it's just not in for me. And I have looked up since then, like, people's opinions of Light Wielder, and a lot of people are 50-50. A lot of people are loving it, a lot of people are hating it. So I'm on the other 50% of the half. I didn't enjoy it. I'm going to say I hate the book, but it just wasn't great. It wasn't for me. There's just a disconnect there between Middlesinger and Light Wielder, and let's move on. That's all I got to say about it. Now, the one self-care book that I did actually read was Don't Believe Everything You Think. And it was okay. It was fine. It wasn't, these are not my favorite books to read, obviously, because like fantasy is like my jam, right? But this is like obviously real world, working on yourself, leveling up, yada, yada, yada. I think this is fine. It literally is just you like trying to figure out like how to talk better about yourself and like just your thought-wise. And I do think it has some really good insights to it, but it was pretty plain and simple, and maybe that's what some people need, some plain and simple stuff. And like, not to say this doesn't work, but like, I didn't need to read this book to know that stuff. But it was just kind of about like, your thoughts are just thoughts. It doesn't have to be, a thought isn't positive or negative at all. It's what you make of it. Like, cheese. Okay, cheese. Or it could be like, oh my God, cheese is gonna hurt my stomach later. Oh my gosh, cheese is actually the best thing in the world. Like, it's your reality of your thoughts. And I think that's really interesting. And it really talks about like how to change your thought system, how to become not necessarily more positive, but just kind of think more clearly and kind of steps along that line. Again, it was fine. I enjoyed it. It was okay. Maybe a 3-star read. I don't know that I necessarily need to like read this to like change my life, because I think it was pretty straightforward. It's stuff like you kind of already know and enjoy, and like either you think positively or you don't, and just knowing a thought is a thought, what you make of it is your own thing. But other than that, it was fine. Moving on. Ooh, let's get into The Shrouded Queen. Now, this was my book of the month. I think it was from June. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was, because I literally got it. Yeah, it was, because I literally cracked it open from book of the month, the box, and I absolutely love this book. It was so good. It was so good. Like, this really started out my month fantastic, because it literally like came in the mail and I read it that day and I loved it. I read this all. Yeah, I did. I read this all in one sitting, like in one afternoon. I read the whole thing. That's how good this is. I would give this a 4.5 stars. I loved it. But yeah, The Shrouded Queen. Oh, this is so good. So good. This is going to be a duology. This is the first book. I think it just came out here in June. So it's steeped in like Egyptian mythology, right? So our main character is a servant, right? And she serves the queen, or like future empress, right? And there's war coming, a civil war has broken out, and all of like these like, they're like bear shifters of like the north, and they're like banished from these lands, right? And like where our main character's from, there's a drought. But she's had a rough life. Like, she's a servant, she's like skin and bones. But with civil war coming, they broke into the palace, and she And her empress was, or the princess was just like, hey, actually, you're going to take my spot and I'm going to run away. And so the princess gets away, but our main character, the servant, kind of like takes over and like makes herself look like the princess. And they're expecting her to be slaughtered. She's like, thank you for your sacrifice. Well, instead of slaughtering them, they end up taking her prisoner and take her back to like the Northlands. And so that's kind of where our story is. It's following two different, well, not necessarily timelines, but two different like storylines, right? Like our main character, the servant, who is going through acting like she's the princess, trying to stay alive with all these bird shifters, and it's like steeped in like magic, like, oh, they're super nasty, they're like scum of the earth, right? You don't like, they're super like animalistic, and like they eat the, like they're cannibals and things like all the bad things that happen, right? And then we follow our alternate character, our actual princess, and she's on the run with her guard, who she is like kind of sort of involved with, and things that ensue from there. The magic in this world is super interesting. There's lots of runes and symbols, and like the way it goes about is super cool. And it's a really interesting storyline of like how they're trying to survive, because our main character, the princess, does have magic, right? And she's supposed to save the world. She's the daughter of like the death god. And when she comes to her birthday, I don't remember, but it's like a month away still. And so they're just trying to make it there, and she's trying to like gain her full powers and pretty much save the world at this point. But you kind of have to survive and get there then, right? And so our other main character, the servant, is trying to like keep herself alive, and of course she doesn't have any powers yet. She's a servant. She is like a nobody. She, you know what I mean? She literally has nothing to her name, and now she's trying to act as if she's a princess. And there's some like love involved, and it's great. There's so many like check boxes on this book. I was honestly super surprised by this book, and I loved it. I am like geeking for the next book. I am shocked about the way it ended. I am like enthralled. Nothing but good things about this, honestly. Nothing but good things. I have such high hopes for the next book, but I'm excited. I add this to your list. It's a perfect summer book. It'd even be probably a good fall book too, but like for summer, like I think it's really steady, fast paced, and I enjoyed it. It was so, so good. A Dance of Lies. Now, this one was pretty good. Again, it was another duology I knew was going to be, like the second book was going to be out soon, so I figured I'd give it a try, see if it ended on a cliffhanger. If I enjoy it, I enjoy it. If I don't, I have to go on. But this one is about Vasily. Now, Vasily, our main character, she is a dancer, and she was like the crown jewel of the West, right? Like she worked for the king, and he like was enamored with her. Well, she's accused of crime she didn't commit, and then she was in prison for 2 years, right? And she was literally chained up to the wall. Like she couldn't move, right? And so fast forward now 2 years after her imprisonment, she is drug out, and the king offers her pretty much like a, hey, if you come over and spy for me, I will absolve you of all your crimes and I'll let you go free or whatever you want. And so obviously she reluctantly agrees, but again, it's better than going back to prison. And so she ends up going, and there's this big thing, I think they call it a reveille or something like that, but like every 2 or 3 years, all of the monarchs of all of the lands of the world get together for like a month or so, and they like renegotiate trade agreements and like all the like political stuff, right? But they need all of these like dancers and like entertainments, because it's like a big festival too, because it's not only like the kingdoms obviously coming together and sharing wealth, knowledge, trading and stuff, right? But it's also like entertainment. You have to entertain all the royals and their parties and things like that, right? And since she was a dancer, she was told to go there, and she's supposed to spy for the King of the West. And so, of course, she's been in prison for 2 years. She's super emaciated. She has lost a bunch of range of motion. Everything hurts. She's really struggling. But she goes to the king, she doesn't go to the king. She goes to the reveilles, and she ends up getting in. And it just goes, I wouldn't say piss poor, but like things happen, right? She's supposed to spy. As like time goes on, the King of the West is asking her to do more and more things she doesn't want to do and she doesn't feel comfortable doing. And the King of the East is the brother of the King of the West, right? But he's kind of had his eye on her like this whole time, right? And it is, this is not a spoiler, I swear, it's kind of in the blurb, but she kind of ends up kind of sort of working for the King of the East to kind of try and overthrow the King of the West. And that's kind of where things ensue. There's a love triangle in this, and I like it. We always love a red flag guy. I'm sorry, but I do. I like a red flag guy, okay? But things happen. There is a little bit of a fantastical element towards the end of the book, but other than that, there's not much going on, like fantasy, like magic wise, right? It's just like a cool fantasy book, if that makes sense. There's no magic or anything, except for just towards the end. But our main character, Vasily, is really cool. I really love the depictions of the dancing scenes. Like it's so good. Like I feel like I'm right there along with her. I'm feeling the emotions, and it's like it's very theater-esque. Like it's not just a like dance. It's a performance. Like it's like a storytelling. It like she's like ballet almost. It's really cool. I really like that part. I didn't know how I'd feel about that going into it, like reading wise, because like how do you read about a dance? But the way it's done, absolutely beautiful. It's a pretty slow, steady build, but again, it's not like poorly written or anything like that. It's slow build, but it's a steady build. And again, it's interesting enough to get through the story, but it's not like gut-wrenching, right? And it does end in a cliffhanger. I would give it a solid 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it. It was fun, but I don't know that I care enough about the characters to go into book 2. Now, there's nothing bad about the story. Like, I just don't know that it was for me. It was a little too slow for my personal opinion. And I, especially as like I would describe myself as a pretty seasoned fantasy reader. And like, not that this wasn't different, but it's just like, I could have used a little bit more fast pace. I think this would be really good for somebody if you're looking to get into fantasy, or if you're not wanting a fantasy with so much like heavy magical like elements to it. I think this is also be a really good one for you. But again, I enjoyed it. It was fine. Not necessarily going to continue on with the series, but I did enjoy it. I would still recommend it to others. How to Write a Love Story. So cute. I really enjoyed this one. I would give this 4.5 stars. We'll see. I really like this book. This was also another book of the month. I think this was from like March or something like that, but I really, really enjoyed this book. It was really sweet. So in this story, there's a big fantasy series that has not been completed because the writer has passed away. So he instructs like his publishers or whoever, he wants his daughter to write the final ending of this like major book series, right? Like Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, like ending of the book series. He wants it to be good, but he passed away before he could like do anything about it. And he left like very, very minimal notes about it. So the daughter takes it on to try and like figure out how to end this series, but she is not like a super, that she isn't a writer, but she writes more like thriller books. She doesn't write fantasy, and so she's kind of struggling. And so our other main character kind of comes in, Sam, and he's like, and he is part of the publishing company, right? And he goes over because she lives in a very, very small town on an island in Ireland, I believe. Yeah, Ireland. And so he goes over there as a publisher, and he's trying to help her finish this book. She's really struggling to get minimal notes, and of course love kind of inspires from there. But I will say it does kind of take a backseat to the plot of the story of just her trying to figure out what's going on with this book series and like just how to write it, because she is super unsure. Again, she's dealing with the death of her father. It's only been like a year since he's passed away, and I think it was a bit of a rough death because she had to take care of him towards the end. And it's actually quite a beautiful story about grief and about love and about just being a human, and I really, really enjoyed that. I loved, like, there's really not any spikes to like almost the last third, and I love that. It was really slow burn, and just the way it was done was so, honestly, it was so perfectly done. And it's the epitome of a summer romance too, because it's like a heat wave in the in Ireland, on this small island, and I really liked that. It was sweet. It was interesting. I loved the book aspect too. Like already, like a book about books, like is always good, right? But like the way this is done, it's just so beautiful. Just her figuring out like how does she end the storyline, because it's such a beloved series, and just the way she's trying to navigate grief, and then how Sam kind of comes along. And again, he doesn't really sweep her off her feet, right? But like the way they develop this relationship is quite beautiful, and I loved it. I'd highly suggest to add this to your TBR. It was sweet. It was enjoyable. I loved like the book aspect. I like how the romance took like a subplot, even though it is a romance book. It really took a subplot to like the main writing, and I love it. And the way it was done, it was so beautiful. And it was easy to read and easy to enjoy, and I love that in a book. But that's this one. The Red Pyramid by Rick Riordan. Now I'm gonna be completely honest. I didn't even know this book really existed until a few weeks ago, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna read it. I'm into it. This is the first in the Kane Chronicles, and I loved it. I super enjoyed it. 4.5 stars. Like I love Rick Riordan's writing. Like I really, really enjoy his writing. Like I didn't realize he had so many books either. I thought it was just the Percy Jackson system and like one other. No, there's like several. But anyway, this is about kind of based in Egyptology, right? Lots of things like that. Another like Egypt-esque. I'm really on the Egypt bandwagon apparently these last few months, but I really enjoyed it. Now, this is about Sadie and Carter. Now, Sadie and Carter are brother and sister. When their mom passed away a few years ago, they were told they could not stay together, and the dad ended up taking Carter with him, and then Sadie had to stay with her grandparents in England, right? And so they both kind of look at each other like very differently because they could only see each other twice a year and it was only for a day. And that's just like what the agreement came out to be. But Carter follows his dad around, who's a famous like Egyptologist, archaeologist kind of dude, right? And so he's constantly on the move. They never stay in one place at one time. Versus Sadie, who is like grown up, she's got friends, she's had a really normal childhood other than like living with her grandparents, right? So Carter and Sadie, again, they don't really know each other. They're kind of like weird cousins who see each other twice a year. And something happens. The dad ends up blowing up the British Museum, and things kind of inspired from there. Of course, it's steeped in Egyptology, and it follows Carter and Sadie trying to figure out what happened to their dad, because now they're thrown into this world and they find out they're related to the Egyptian gods. There's lots of magic, there's lots of like different interesting things happening, and it's a pretty quick paced book. There we go. And it was enjoyable. It was fun. I liked the storyline. I love the banter between Sadie and Carter. I don't have any siblings. I grew up as an only child, so I always find like siblings super interesting to me, and like how their dynamic and like how it works. But it was really fun. I liked the retelling of it also, because it's like a recording. Like Sadie and like Carter were taking turns like recording it down and like saying, and like sometimes Sadie would like intercept and like say something in between, and like they would like put it in the lines between like what was happening and the different viewpoints. It was really cool. I really liked it. I'm definitely going to continue on. I believe it's just a trilogy, but I like it. I enjoyed it. I would highly recommend it. Even as an adult, I think this is considered like either a young adult or middle grade book. I'm still really enjoying it. I really just enjoy Rick Riordan's writing. The way he is able to picture the gods, but still like give due to like religious beliefs, and like the way the build-up is it's just so beautiful. It's done so well, and I really, really enjoyed it. I would highly recommend. All right, are you ready? The Dungeon Anarchist Cookbook. Oh, so good, so good. This is part of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. This is book number 3, and I loved it. I think this is my favorite book so far, but just kind of give you a presence of like pretense of like what's happening, what's going on in the world. Dungeon Crawler Carl is obviously the first book in the series, and if you haven't heard of it before, I'd be shocked because it's a really, really popular series right now. But the main book, pretty much the aliens come in, take over the world, and humans are given the choice of either you have to live on the surface, which is pretty much uninhabitable at this point, or you have to go into this Hunger Games style game, right? And so Carl decides to do that, and he decides to go into this labyrinth with his ex-girlfriend's pet, Princess Donut, which is a cat. And so we follow him along through these dungeons, and there's I believe it's 18 levels he's supposed to get through, and then he would be free, but it's Hunger Games style, right? Like there's lots of different fantastic elements, like things are going through, and you have to level up yourself. And again, you wanted to get sponsors later on in this book series, and like in order to get like magical artifacts to try and make it through all these certain levels, and like goblins and trolls and elves and things of that nature, right? Really, really interesting story. I absolutely love Carl and Princess Donut. I love a lot of the the side characters that are now coming into play. But as we go into book number 3, this is level number 4. Yeah, so we're on level number 4 now. This is not a spoiler or anything. Like, obviously there's like 8 books in the series, okay? He's made it through a few levels, okay? But we're kind of just following along. This one is, because of course, as you go down through the levels, and every level is a different theme. This theme was train tracks, and it's like a really interesting system. Think of like the tubes in London, or like the trains in New York, like the subway. And we're just kind of following Carl and Donut along as they're trying to navigate how to get through this level. It's like super interesting, and like it's supposed to be confusing, and it is noted in the beginning of this book, like, hey, like don't worry about how the system works, like it will be explained later on in the book. And I'm glad he said that, or else, because I was really trying to figure out, I would have really like put more effort into trying to figure out like the system, and like trying to get make sense of like no sense, if that makes sense. But I really enjoyed this book. I think this is my favorite one of the series so far. I would honestly give it 6 stars, like absolute 6 stars. I love the development of Carl. I think he's really like explained and like set to be like a very average, ordinary, pretty much dude, but like he just seems so extraordinary in certain instances, and like the way he's still able to show compassion to other like of the competitors, and like the way he's like he doesn't want to do any of this, but he has to in order to survive, and like the way it's all done and explained, I think is so interesting, because of course he's doing bad things, but again, like is it bad? Like he's just trying to survive into like what the world has thrown at him, right? And they're now further along in the game. I really love Princess Donut's development too, because Princess Donut's a cat, but she can talk, and she's like started out as kind of like a child mentality, and she still has a child mentality, but she's starting to mature. She's starting to understand the world, and their powers are super cool. All the magical artifacts that they're finding, and like their journey is super interesting. But I really, really liked the floor in this one, even though it was super confusing. You didn't really know what was going on with all these trains, but like the way it was done, and like the way Carl pieces things together, like as much as he's described as like ordinary, like his brain as it's really interesting, like how it works, and like a lot of things are revealed in this book series. I love it. This is my favorite one so far. If you have not checked out Dungeon Crawler Carl yet, please do. It is so good. It's fun. It's entertaining. It makes you laugh out loud. It's a fun adventure, and like you don't ever want to get off the ride. Like that's the only way to describe it. It's a fun, thrilling ride that you never want to get off of, and I can say nothing more about this book series. Absolutely read it. Now, the last book I read, I have very conflicting feelings about, and I'm going to try not to yap about it too long because I'm pretty upset about it, but it is Crown Tie by Alex Astor. Now, this is part of the Lightlark series. This is book 4, and I'm going to be completely honest. I thought this was the end of the Lightlark series. And so maybe that was my own fault for not realizing, but I really thought this is supposed to be the end of this book series, and I am upset. I am upset. I am mad. I am genuinely considering DNFing this series. I'm sorry, but maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but there's no reason for this book series to be so long. It's just, there's not. This could have been simply a duology like it was planned, or a trilogy, but the fact that we're on book 4, now we're going into book 5, I don't know what to say to that. I really don't know what to say to that. I'm really upset. I don't understand the things, because I think we're at this point now of like, as much as like the writing is fantastic, I love Alex Astor's writing, like it is like heart-wrenchingly beautiful, right? But like I'm upset with the storyline. I don't understand. It's like we're almost repeating ourselves. So we get into this one. Let me just give you the premise of Lightlark and then I'll kind of like explain kind of what goes into this book. Lightlark is a series. Each of these people have a curse set on them, and it's been like that for 500 years. But every 100 years, there's a centennial. All of the leaders of all of the different worlds have to come together, and they're trying to figure out how to break this curse and fix their world, right? Because the world is dying. And so that's what kind of happens there. Isla goes there, who is our main character. She's part of like the Heart people, and things ensue from there. There's a super interesting, fantastical world. All of the magic and like the mystery and like the twist in the first book, absolutely phenomenal. Second book, great. Third book, meh. Going into the fourth book, as much as the writing is so beautiful, and of course, it's really, there's a huge love triangle, right? Like, it's all about Grimm or Oro, and Grimm is like the golden boy, he's the king of Lightlark, right? And then there's Grimm, who's the king of the Nightshades, kind of the dark rest guy, good boy versus bad boy kind of thing going on. And the reason why I was so hooked still reading this is because I want to know who she picks. Like, I'm so interested to know, who does she choose? Because there is a prophecy in place, right? But I had to get into this book because I was expecting her to make her choice again. I thought this was the end of the book series, right? She does make her choice. But then things fall completely fucking apart. But excuse my language, but literally fucking apart. And in one of the other books, I'm trying not to make this a spoiler, but memories are lost, right? But then she gets them back. Well, memories are lost again, but it's to a different character, and I'm like, it's like deja vu, but with a different character. And I don't know if we're expecting a different outcome, but then things happen. Like, she's trying to help them get their memories back, and like things are happening. But then we end the book almost where we started, and I'm just like, what was the point? What was the point of that? And I don't know how to feel this. Again, the writing was great. There's certain moments in here that are absolutely phenomenal, but again, it's just like, wow. I don't know. I don't know where the story is going. I think I'm just confused in the plot line because it's so all over the place. Like, you can tell it was only supposed to be like a duology or trilogy because it's added so much story from like the first and second book where you're like, what? Like, why did we have to add on so much more to this book, right? Like, there was not needed to be any more of this book. Okay, I will stand on that high horse, honestly, till I die. I love Lightlark and I love Alex Astor's writing. But this did not need to be a now a 5-book series. I'm going to be completely honest. It doesn't need to be. Especially the writing is beautiful and I love this world. It didn't need to be 5 books. It just didn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. But also, just tell me who the heck she picks, Alex. Okay? Tell me who she picks. That's really all I want to know at this point. Like, I'm so annoyed with all the other characters and, like, everything else going on. Like, I just want to know who she picks. So, I am honestly still debating if I want to DNF this book or not because I'm so upset about it. Because, again, what are we even going to do in book 5? Like, what did we even do in this book? Like, what did we even do in book 3? Like, maybe completely honest, we didn't really do much. We didn't do much. Like, again, the story is there, but like, is it? I don't know. I'm gonna stop talking about this book because it's making me upset thinking about it again. Because I was literally so sad. I had my husband come and take that book away. That's how upset I was about that book. When I finished it. Anyway, but yeah, that is all the books that I read in June. Please let me know what books you read in June in the comments. I would absolutely love to know. Have you read any of these books? Please add some of these books to your TBR. There we go. I would absolutely love to know if you read any of these books before. But yeah, that's it. I had, I think, a pretty good reading month. It was nothing too crazy. I feel like I could have read a lot more, but like life happens, right? But other than that, I think it was pretty good. Had a couple DNFs, kind of have a meh, but I did have quite a few like really good books. Like super excited for some series to continue in all the other fun stuff. But I hope you had a wonderful time here, sitting here, listening to me yap about books, and I will see you on the next one. Happy reading!